Bullied kid gets the vice principal fired and his bullies 10 plus years in prison. This ProRevenge took place when I was in high school in the mid-2000s, a time in my country when there was so much public outcry over bullying and hazing in boarding schools. A couple of students in different schools had died from injuries resulting from bullying. Other schools were rioting and burning shit. They were under increased scrutiny. It was a whole thing. Personally, my life in high school was not fun. I was a fat boy with very low self-esteem going into my first year. The bullying I experienced quickly led to depression. I was prone to self-harm and recklessness, and a bit of suicidal ideation. The thing that made high school particularly nightmarish, though, was the sexual abuse. Low-key comments about my sexuality from this group of about 5 boys in the 4th form. They called me and my best friends gay. The social stigma associated with homosexuality here is really extreme. These boys would stalk and terrorize me. They left threatening notes under my sheets. "We're gonna fluff you up for being a fluffin' gay. Oh, we're gonna fluff and rape you," etc. So I had only one close friend who knew what was going on. Ironically, after an entire term of convincing everyone that I was gay, that same group began sexually abusing me. Sometime in the middle of the term, the vice principal, or VP of our school, was changed due to the aforementioned public backlash from the bullying scandals. The previous VP was a decent man, but the new VP was not. He came with a well-earned reputation of being unnecessarily harsh, dishing out suspensions and expulsions like candy on Halloween. The last straw. A few weeks after the new VP came in, and I'm having an incredibly shitty week that is really battering my mind. Yes, the bullying and sexual abuse were still going on. Now, every Friday night, a group of kids used to climb through a window into the computer lab and play video games. The windows have bars on them, but a slim person could fit through. Among this group of kids was this troublemaker dude in my class in my dorm with the same common name. Turns out, the VP had confused the two of us, and I was the one who was in his crosshairs. That Friday, the kids were caught. Some of them, including my namesake, managed to escape. The VP was called in, and the students who were caught snitched. Security was sent to the dorms to bring the other culprits. Cue me being woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning and dragged to the scene of the crime to endure a beating for something I hadn't done. Corporal punishment was tacitly legal then and now. My explanation that there is clearly no way for me to fit through the window were met with more cannings. What really pissed me off was that the VP had us bring our belongings to his office at night for an inspection with the excuse of searching for stolen computer equipment. He came across my very private journal, and like the he was, he proceeded to ridicule me for having a diary in front of the teachers, watchmen, and students I was bundled with. It didn't help matters that I broke down and cried in front of them. I don't think I have ever felt such humiliation in my life before. The following morning, we were suspended for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, my parents took me back to school. I'd only told them of the mistaken identity that I suspected in the wrongful accusation. They already knew about the bullying. I didn't tell them about the VP going through my diary or the sexual stuff. I was still writhing in humiliation. The VP, being the absolute bunghole that he was, had convinced himself that I was the ringleader of this group of boys, again, mistaken identity, and thus deserved extra punishment. He ordered me to clear out a large patch of weeds and overgrown grass between the rugby pitch and the hockey field, about the size of a football field, using only a slasher. Just as I'm about to head out, it starts raining and it's the middle of July. So much cold. Temperatures regularly dip to below 10 degrees Celsius at night. So instead of going to the field, I head out to class to wait out the rain. A few minutes later, the VP barged in furious, interrupting the geography lesson. He proceeded to tear me a new one, even mentioning my private journal, and then he threatened to expel me if I left the field before I finished my punishment. He then proceeded to cane me again just to make his point stick. At this point, I just broke. All this punishment was due to something that I had not done. I was completely innocent, but this asswipe just couldn't listen. So I walked out into the rain, slasher in hand, with not even a sweater. This was about 4 in the afternoon. I never returned. I think the VP never really expected me to complete the punishment, but then I doubt he had ever met someone who decided they had no more fluffs left to give either. Dusk fell with me cold and drenched, ripping up ferns from the ground. By midnight, I was shivering and crying uncontrollably, and it was too dark to see shit. I still persevered and started blindingly cutting the grass, driven by this mad desire to just hurt. I really didn't care who I hurt. Sure, a part of my motivation was that if I did get sick out here, the VP would be in a fluff load of trouble, but there was another part of me that was just like, fluff it, life sucks anyway. By midnight, I was too cold to continue. I ran out of energy and just sat down under a tree. Towards dawn, I was so cold from the rain and the wind that my shivers began reducing. It was impossible for me to sleep. The teachers finally found me there a couple of hours after dawn. Apparently, the teacher on duty had found my desk empty during morning study time between 4:30 and 6 a.m. When he asked where I was, it came about that I had not been in bed the previous night either. He then called the VP and other teachers who began searching the school, and they finally found me in the field. The ProRevenge. Yay, it's finally here! I don't know much about what happened immediately after. I was out of it. I do remember the teachers rushed me to the school nurse, who immediately recommended I be taken to the hospital. I spent a week there due to complications, pneumonia. And a very expensive week it was, all on the school's dime. My parents were pissed as fluff, and I couldn't blame them. The school's board of governors convened after my parents contacted them. The days before my parents and I were called in to speak before the board, I had the idea to just face my fears and put everything out in the open. I was just done with that school and everybody there. So on that day, in front of a group of musty old men in the boardroom, I finally shed my burden. I told them everything. My only motivation being to bury that piece of shit vice principal and my tormentors. I don't think I've ever done anything that scary before. From the mistaken identity, the suspension, the punishment of the rain, the threat to expel me if I decided to seek shelter, and the crown jewel, the bullying and sexual abuse. I laid it all out. I knew that would definitely get their attention. The board called my best friend who backed me up. VP was in no position to win a he said they said contest with us at the moment. The VP was fired that day. A few days later, a zero tolerance policy on bullying was announced. I think the board was actually afraid of finding themselves in the news for all the wrong reasons. As for the boys who had been terrorizing me, they were arrested. My dad went to the police with the threatening notes I'd been receiving all year long. The school board supported us in this, on the condition that we, my parents and I, don't take the story to the media. I was happy with that arrangement. I had no desire to be the face of male rape victims. We had a few meetings with an investigator from the public prosecutor's office. A couple of months later, the office reached out and told us that the boys had pled guilty. One of them got off scot-free because his dad was some senior army guy. Corruption. 3 of them got 10 years each. The last one got 18. The topping? They were all in their 4th and final year. They got arrested just as they were about to sit their national exams to go to university. Their lives are ruined, and I have absolutely no remorse for them. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Originals for more videos like this. Oh, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all our videos. We upload a video each day, so stay tuned.